But one of the things that, there's been a lot of discussion on is this whole thing around load management, right?
Yeah.
Load management, some of its discussions have led to tanking, those kinds of things. Where do you sit on these discussions around load management, the impact that it has on the NBA and the league? I'm very curious. You and I have had some private discussions about it,
Right.
but not a public discussion about it. So, kind of where are you at on this whole piece?
Personally, I don't like it, and the reason why I don't like it is because of the fans. I think it hurts the fans, right? And it doesn't take in consideration of the fans. You have a product, and you're delivering that product or that service to your fan base, and it's so expensive. Back in the day, 5 years ago, so not back in the 80s and all that other stuff, but you would number one, you didn't see it back in the 80s and 90s, but in either case, you were concerned about that fan that spent a lot of money
Yeah.
to take their kid or a customer or someone to a basketball game, and not to see someone on an opposing team, and you didn't know whether or not that person was going to show up and play or not, right?
Hmm.
And so you wasted some money, or you felt some kind of way because you felt like you didn't get a return on investment, if you will. Well, that scenario has actually expanded now, where you have to pay for streaming services, whether or not it's on Prime or Netflix or the ESPN app or wherever it is you can find the damn NBA games these days. Uh, it's a streaming service that you have to pay for. So my point is, whether or not you're sitting in your living room or you're at the actual arena, you want to see players play. And when they sit on the bench, I just don't think that that's fair for the folks. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, those are really good takes, and I agree with a lot of it. I think that, look, when you sign a contract, and it's a multi-million-dollar contract, not just you as a player, but also the league just signed a $77 billion media rights contract. That includes Disney, it includes Amazon and NBC and the whole nine yards. So $77 billion over 11 years. It just started this year.
Hmm.
And you got advertisers behind that, the whole business side of it, the whole ecosystem behind it is just incredible. The money that the NBA has been able to get, which I'm thankful for, because I think it's the greatest game out of any sport in the world, basketball. So I'm excited about that. At the same time, when you make that kind of investment, and I'm gonna refer back to on December 2nd, I'm sitting here excited, getting ready to watch Oklahoma City play Golden State Warriors. Oklahoma City had won 13 in a row. They were coming to Golden State, and then all of a sudden, you don't have Green, you don't have Curry that are playing that game because of load management. And it's like, it's a great opportunity for me to see, hey, where are the Warriors at? They had won some games at that particular time. This would be a great test, that kind of thing. So I imagine how I felt. I imagine how somebody felt who is, saved up the money to go watch Steph Curry for the first time, or Shea or whoever, and all of a sudden, they're not there. And I think when you talk about a business transaction in business, if you're selling a product, right? And I buy that product, but I expect to receive it, as I evaluate it. And I got expectations that come with that in terms of what I want to see. And when those expectations aren't met, then I can become disconnected as a fan. And I think there's some risk to that you don't see immediately, but it can erode the popularity of our league, over time. And I
Hmm.
will go back to the 80s, because I remember being a kid, rushing home and having to watch, tape delay for NBA championship games.
Right.
Magic Johnson's game was tape delayed, the 1980 game where he had 42 points and 15 assists, and they won on the road against the Sixers. That was on tape delay.
Yeah.
So I don't want to do anything that puts the league at risk. I'm talking about 11 years from now of being able to secure a bigger bag, right? Because of a bad customer experience.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's kind of where I sit at that. And I think that, and I don't blame the players. I think a lot of it has to do with, the management, the franchises. You got these sport medicine departments now that work for each franchise. And the reality is, you got to justify your existence if you're in that role. You're analyzing data. If you're the sports medicine guru and you can correlate, hey, I can give you this much time off. You got this better shot that this star player is going to be healthy for the playoffs, that kind of thing. If I can sell that, right, it justifies my existence. It's
Right.
adding value. When in reality, there's no scientific correlation that that's true.
But
So,
here's the deal: it's difficult for all the reasons that you said. But if
yeah,
you put on a business hat, from you're an end consumer. You're talking about it from a business standpoint.
right,
But at the same time, from an owner's standpoint, you want to make sure you get a good return on your investment there as well, and you don't want to wear that out. I mean, there's been a ton of injuries. There's more injuries, it seems like, now than there were back in the 80s or 90s when folks were playing extended games, right?
right.
But some of those injuries were catastrophic where they did end folks' career. So you have been able to see some folks come back over time. And, most recently, Kevin Durant, Kevin Durant looks like Kevin Durant of old, right? But it's taken some time for him to get there. But they got to manage that. So as you talk about these medical professionals that are hired, I mean, their concern is to protect and nurture that asset as best they could, right? And an owner has a right to make sure that he does that as well. He or she does that as well, because they want to make sure that they're getting that same return on investment that the consumer thinks that they're getting on the other end. And that's what makes it a challenge, because that's the reason why neither one of us will blame the player, because the player wants to get out there.
Yeah,
I would assume, I would hope that a player would want to get out there.
right.
There are some folks that we know that have clearly stolen money over the years, but by not getting out there, not wanting to be out there. But that's a different topic for a different day. But it's a tough one. Personally, I don't like it. But to be honest, I don't see it going away.
Yeah,
The
well, it's
tanking,
yeah,
we're not even talking about the tanking piece, but again,
yeah.
that's even a business decision, right? I horribly hate the tanking piece. They're gonna have to figure that thing out.
To your point, right, on the injuries,
Yeah,
the catastrophic injuries that you're seeing players experience today is happening in a load management era. So that kind
that's
of
my point.
proves to my, what I'm saying is that
Yeah,
there's no correlation to that. I'm
yeah,
talking about, you had Halliburton who's out, right? You got Lillard who's out. You got Tatum who's out, all same injury, which is an Achilles tear.
yeah,
We're in the load management era. So I'm
yeah,
saying there's no correlation to that. And if a fan pays to see Guyton play or whoever, or Durant or whoever play, I expect to, if he's healthy, right?
yeah,
If he's not healthy, I don't, I want him to, to get better and get his
yeah,
time off. But if you can play, man, you should be able to play, right? Is my
yeah.
my take on
Well, if they're paying money to see Guyton play there, it's going to be comedy. It's going to be on par with Eddie Murphy.
it. You got those red and white clown shorts you used to wear back in the day. Right on, man.